Well, hey there to all of our automotive enthusiast friends all the way around the great big planet Earth. You did it once again. That's right. You hit the play button on yet another...
Kevin, another aleatory episode of V8 Radio.
Aleatory?
Yes.
I'm not out in the alley right now, although I spend a lot of time.
You are not out in the alley. No, it is depending on the throw of the dice or on chance.
Oh, so there's a
gambling
there's a lot of chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a good chance this could suck.
You could be in the back alley throwing dice. How about that?
I'm going to say there's a much better chance that you're going to really enjoy your time tuning in to the V8 Radio podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostie, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Rollin' the Bones Cue Ball Clarke.
Roll them bones.
That's right. Very cool.
Oh, man. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. There's been so much going on. I have to apologize to our loyal listener. There has not been enough of these episodes getting out because it's just so much. There's so much right now.
We've been busy.
Yeah, this is true. Mm-hmm. We've also been busy preparing the requisite automotive trivia question that we launch at the beginning of every one of these episodes, and of course reveal the answer to our riveting listener at the end. Have you prepared a trivia question?
I have. Lord knows I've had enough time to, so here we go. All right. So, Kevin, when did cars in the U.S. market start having their steering wheels installed on the left side of the car?
Okay. When did cars in the U.S. market start having their steering wheels installed on the left-hand side of the car? That's a very interesting question. So, as you know, the automobile was kind of a German and American thing concurrently. And in the original days, it was kind of center-mounted, right? It was a tiller or some kind of a stalk.
Yeah.
So, at some point... it went one way or the other. And when did it start on the left-hand side? Mm-hmm. Which is interesting that you say left, because normally I tend to correct people in our shop when they say the left-hand side, because I say, no, it's the driver's side, because that is less confusing. But in this case, whatever side they chose would have been the driver's side.
Correct. That's right.
So left is correct. Left is right.
Left is right.
Wow. Now, are you suggesting that the legal standard or just that when it started happening?
Is there a legal standard?
I don't know. I don't think so. You can drive a wrong-hand side driven car today if you want.
Okay.
So you're just saying popularity-wise, when did they just start hitting the street on the left? Okay. Mm-hmm. 1906 is my guess. I have no idea who or
that's
why.
Deep.
That's just what came to me.
That's way back.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is, going back.
All right. Final answer.
That's it. Done.
All right. Duly noted.
Okay. Well, I got one for you. In what year, in the global market, did the 6-speed manual transmission first appear in production vehicles? Ooh.
6-speed manual trans first appear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man.
1 through 6.
Very nice.
Clutch in between if you need.
Lord. Gosh, that is a phenomenal question. All right. In what global market? Okay. Well,
the only reason why I said global is I was hoping this would be a question that shook out with like the same 5 words of yours.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, there was once a question that was like almost the exact same thing, and you got kind of wound up before it changed. And I thought maybe we could do that again, but it doesn't really work that way.
Okay. All right. Let's see. In what In what year? In the global market.
Right.
Okay.
What numbered group of 365-day blocks?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, since you put it that way, that makes it all clearer.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the 6-speed manual transmission first appeared 19... I'm going to just You're in third gear. Keep going.
Dude, I'm in reverse. I'm in fifth reverse, like Fast and Furious.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say 1957.
57. Wow.
57. And as the bonus, I'm going to say it was in the German market.
Man, I'm impressed.
I know you didn't offer a bonus, but I'm taking a bonus.
That's a true bonus. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's your final answer?
Final answer.
All right. 1957 in the German market.
Probably with our friends at Mercedes-Benz.
A triple bonus. Holy mackerel. Okay.
All right, man.
All right. We'll find out.
I can't
at the
wait.
End of the show. I know. You're going to have to.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. So we are hammer down, floored all the way into the beginning of 2025. But the end of 24, we neglected to recap.
We did.
And I was kind of thinking about some of that stuff. We didn't get a chance to share the post McCacken experience on this show, did we?
Holy cats. It's been that was back in November.
We really didn't get a chance to recap SEMA that much either.
Ooh,
so
boy. Buckle up, kids. It's going to be a long one.
Yeah. Get a comfortable chair.
Mm-hmm.
Pop some corn and pour a cold one because it's
there
on.
You go.
SEMA, real quick, was fantastic. It was the show is always amazing because it just is what it is. But one of the coolest things about the SEMA show this year is that it happened right during the presidential election.
Oh, yes, it did, didn't it?
Yeah, so the personality of the show changed on Wednesday of the show. Tuesday's the first day, which of course was election day. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of, business as usual, if not a little tense. I mean, clearly some people were concerned about the election. Most people were in the moment, I thought, and just kind of being at the SEMA show, which was great. But after Tuesday night and Wednesday happened and the results became obvious, the whole temperature of the show changed and people just gave a giant sigh of relief. I think partially because the whole shooting match was over, first of all.
Sure.
But second of all, the new administration is very much more friendly to small business and the automotive world than the previous one, and I think people are looking forward to that. So that was cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I'm glad to hear that. So, right on.
Yeah. So, lots of great things happened at the SEMA show. The SEMA cruise at the very end took a different route this year and was just ginormous. I was looking at some of the online stuff of watching those videos of the footage that people shot of, lining the streets as all the cars went by, and it was hugely positive.
Were you announcing the SEMA cruise again this year?
I was. Joe Sebergandio and I did once again, which was
Joe
very cool.
Was there too. Good.
Yeah, it was fun. But it was a nice kind of send-off at the end of the week. The week was very successful, I thought, and everything just had kind of a different feel, and it was a good thing. So a lot of business happened, of course, a lot of new products, a lot of personal connections, all the good stuff that show is. It certainly was, so that was cool.
And attendance was up from a couple years previous, correct?
Attendance has been climbing every year for the past, since, the show came back after COVID.
Sure.
I don't know, some over 140,000 attendees. They're talking 160 some different countries, lots of people. Lots of good stuff. So the industry is super healthy, and the cool thing is a lot of people and small businesses and big businesses alike I think they were waiting for the election and all the things that go along with it, to potentially release new products or to reinvest or whatever. I think people were kind of tight-fisted, with expenditures and with research and with product development. And now, of course, as we record this, we're right before the actual inauguration day. But I heard an index this morning, the Small Business Confidence Index is up, like, I don't know, the number they gave was 112 or something, and it's the highest it's been in a long, long time, which indicates that not just the automotive world, but business in general is ready to really just kind of get back to work and bring out new stuff. And we've all been a little bit, whether we recognize it or not, we've all been a little bit, reserved, I think. And hopefully that changes. It seems like it will. So that's cool.
That is very cool. I love hearing that, and I love to support small and medium-sized businesses, and this is just great news. So I hope more people do that.
Yes.
Yep.
So expect a lot of new stuff. There's been a lot of cool advancements and some events that are going to be happening in 25, which brings us into what happened right after SEMA, which was the McCacken show. And
that McCacken show was off the chain this year.
It was. It really was. And for us in particular, this was our 20th anniversary, and we had talked about this on this podcast before, that Bob Ashton and the McCacken team said, hey, why don't you have an invitational display of some of your customer cars celebrating the 20th anniversary of V8 TV and V8 Speed at McCacken? And that's what we ended up doing. So we brought 6 cars and a half.
Six and a half. I mean, 6.5 killer cars that we had the pleasure of building over the years. So what was cool, what I loved about this was some of these were older restorations, and they still looked like they were fresh. They looked like they just got done. That's how nice these owners have kept these cars, and it's also a testament to how well built they were. So they look fantastic, and a lot of people were rubbernecking as they walked by looking at these cars, and we were talking to quite a bit of people over the weekend about these builds, and there was a lot of interest that was drummed up because of it.
Yeah, I really agree. And what was cool is the earliest car was the 65 Chevelle Malibu SS that we had done way back in, we started that car in 2009, I think, and finished it in about 11. And again, the owner, my cousin Don, took great care of it. It doesn't look like the day we finished it by any stretch, because some of the paint has shrunk a little bit here and there, and it just wasn't quite as glossy as it was day one. But all these cars, we had them shipped down to our shop before the show. So Toby, our detailer, really went to town, polishing and detailing and cleaning up all the vehicles that we brought, and really taking years off some of these that had been done for a long time. And Don's car in particular ended up scoring 982 out of 1,000.
That's crazy,
having
man.
been, a restoration that's, pretty soon going to come up on, 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. And it still looks great today. And the things that he got dinged on were like the header collectors were rusty.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
No kidding.
Good.
How about
Good,
that?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not a show car. This is a car that's meant to be driven. So that was there. The loose change 69 Camaro was there. And of course, that thing does look like the day it was finished. And that one got finished back in 13. And it's just ridiculous how nice that car looks today. The 68 Camaro Reloaded, that's another one that looks like it was finished yesterday. And that's because these owners, one of their hobbies is continuously polishing looking after these cars. And then we had a recent car, the 69 Corvette 427 Roadster we did, a blue one. And that was kind of I don't want to say its public debut, but it was its first show, I will say.
Yeah, it's a real big show. Yeah.
Well, as soon as we finished it, it went into a museum.
Correct, yeah.
And it was on display in a giant Corvette invitational display.
Yeah. I think he had driven it in a parade as well, but yeah, it spent most of its time in a museum.
Yeah. So that was cool, but to see it in public was phenomenal because the car is a custom mix of blue that Jeff, our painter, whipped up, and the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals is an indoor show, and being a photo and video guy, sometimes I have a challenge of the lighting inside these buildings can make certain colors be less vibrant than they are, either under other light or outside.
Right.
Not the blue Corvette.
No, not at all. That car was it was glowing. It was so nice.
And there might be some trickery going on there, whatever those type of, I don't know if they were sodium lights or some kind of halon vapor or something, but they might have had a little bit of a blue cast to the light itself. Mm-hmm. So it might have been enhancing that. It sure looked like it because the car just looked ridiculous. It was cool. And then the sixth complete car we brought was the 67 GTO that you had the pleasure of unveiling at the McCacken show back in 2019.
Yeah, this was like a homecoming for that show, for that car rather, at that show.
Yeah.
So the owners were there, and they brought their whole family again, like they did in 2019. The kids were a little more grown up than they were back then, and it was like a whole deal all over again for them. It was really neat. It was really special.
And I think it scored higher this time than it did last time.
Yes, it did. It scored actually a point higher this time than it did in 2019. Isn't that something?
Yeah, 998.
Yeah, over its 997 in 2019.
Yeah, so that one, of course, and then I skipped over one, the white 69 Camaro owned by Comp Cams that we did.
Correct.
Was also there.
Yeah, it was.
And that one was finished back in 16, and it scored a 997. And that one had the highest usage of any of those cars. It's got almost 7,000 miles on it since we finished it.
Wow.
So they drive it a lot. So that one, Toby, our detailer, had the most effort in cleaning that one up. But he ended up on the rack and, foam cannon the whole bottom of the car and, all that stuff. But it looked great, and it scored really well, 997, and everybody was happy. And I think, to me, the cars are certainly the focus, but we brought the owners of these vehicles to the show and got to spend the whole weekend with them doing fun car stuff. And I thought it was great. It was a really good time.
It was a great time. They were such nice people. And some of them I just met for the first time at that show because these cars were built before my reign of terror began officially at the VA Speed and Resto shop. But everybody was super cool, and they were stoked, and they really appreciated the other cars that were there as well that we had built. And, I think it really cemented their decision to have their car built at our shop. And I think they had to do it all over again. They certainly would.
Well, I mean, I certainly hope so, because as we talk about all the time, the relationships that you have with a particular car, and in our case, with an owner of a car, to be able to make that thing come back to life or renew it or build something custom is really where all the magic is. And all of the owners of these vehicles are like-minded in the sense that they appreciate cool cars, and they hung out with each other and looked after each other. And there was some first of all, we got them all passes to the show, so they all got to see the McCacken show, which is an amazing thing on its own. And then over the 2 weekend nights, the first night we went to a brass era restoration shop that our buddy Mike Pistello runs. in a Chicago suburb real close to the McCacken show. And, we're talking steam-powered vehicles and that kind of stuff. And they do a lot of the machining of the engine parts in-house, and they do coach-built bodies in-house, and just, all kinds of crazy stuff. And they have this great old vintage Chicago bar in there and a little area to hang out and all these cars to look at. So they were gracious enough to host a little party event, and all of our friends were invited, our staff, our team, and that was a great time.
It was a phenomenal time. Those guys were so cool, and they took us throughout their whole shop, showing us all they do, and it is amazing. I mean, we do a fair amount of fabricating, and trying to make things that aren't available anymore for some of these 60s and 70s era muscle cars that we build. But these guys with these brass era cars, I mean, good luck. I mean, they have to build from scratch. They have to fabricate parts and machine parts they have to build, and they're 3D printing things to make templates for other parts, to make casts of things. So they really go, I mean, they're at the next level of fabrication, trying to keep these cars nice and on the road and roadworthy. It's incredible what they're able to accomplish over there.
Yeah, for a 69 Camaro, you can order parts from the year one catalog. And in their case, they're literally talking about year one for the automobile.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Year one of the automobile.
Yeah, they got stuff from, 1900 in there. And there's no plans or anything. You got to make it. So that was really cool. They're great friends of ours. And that's one of the fun things is like, especially at the level that we're at, I firmly believe that, the market is big enough to where we don't really compete with people. We work with other people in the industry, right?
For sure. So
we can't restore them all. And if somebody brought me a 1910 Stutz, I don't even know what to do with this thing, but I'm going to call Mike and send it there, and
correct.
I can provide that service to that customer who is the best match. So we have these open door friendship policies with all these other kinds of shops all over the world. And I love that. It's all a bunch of enthusiasts that can work together and call each other and hang out. And in this case, even bring friends over to have a little celebration. So it's a special thing.
It really is a special thing. And I think who it affected the most was Trevor. I think he was trying to figure out how he can stay there because, brass era cars are his jam. I mean, that's his true love from an automotive sense. And he was beside himself looking at all these just amazing cars. I mean, they had Stanley Steamers there for Pete's sake.
Yeah,
and not the carpet cleaner.
Not the Cleveland one either.
No, not the Cleveland one either. All right, moving on. It
was great to see Trevor get that excited about stuff because that's the era of cars he grew up with, and not because that's his age. Trevor's not 125 years old.
He's not.
But when he was a kid, his dad restored cars from that era, and Trevor got to work on really old stuff when he was young. So he's got nostalgia for that stuff, and he's walking around like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he needed that break from the reality. And we all did, but he went deep into that, and it was really cool. Yeah. It was fun to see. I'm happy he had that opportunity.
Me too. I'm glad he came up and was able to do that. So thank you, Trevor.
And then the next night, we after the McCacken show again, we went out to another event, and this was hosted by our good friend, Mr. Joe Spagnoli, and he has what is nicknamed the Hearst Garage, again, an unmarked little private Chicago place. Where he has his collection of, probably not all, but many of his cars. He's a big Hearst Oldsmobile, Hearst Pontiac, Hearst Chrysler fanatic, so he's got all kinds of those cars. And that collection is maintained and looked after by our really good friend, Mr. Danny Vasic.
Danny Vasic. God love him. Mr. Berwyn.
Mr. Berwyn.
Dan, if you're listening, that is meant with love, sir.
For sure. And if anybody has seen our Muscle Car of the Week coverage of the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals over the years, I think just about every year we do an interview with Dan Vasick, and he brings out something different that he has either just restored or put a show prep on.
Yeah,
and
Dan's a great guy. I really like him a lot.
He's a great guy and just super passionate about this stuff and really cares. And Joe Spagnoli, who's also a really great guy, he gives Dan the opportunity to look after these cars and bring them around. And this year the feature car was that 69 Pontiac GTO Judge, the black one with the white interior. Amazing car.
It was an amazing car. And as of 3 days prior, it was all in pieces.
Yes. Yeah, it really was. And he tells that story in our Muscle Car of the Week video. If you go to YouTube, look that up. You'll see Danny telling us about that car. But they also have a fundraising benefit party that they invited us to attend, and it's for the Gilmore Museum, which is a great car museum and does a lot with muscle cars. So we all went to Spagnoli's place and ate hot dogs and Italian beef sandwiches and good Chicago food and got to check out all the cars there and hang out and tell stories and just be immersed in this culture that we love so much. So it was a great weekend.
Yeah. I was kind of bummed I missed that part of the weekend. Unfortunately, I was double booked that weekend, and I had my wife's boss's daughter was getting married, so we had to go to that wedding on Saturday night. But I was able to go to Mike Pistoli's place. That was amazing, and from what I understand, Joe Spagnoli's place was super incredible. And I hope I can make it there next year if they invite us out, and then check it out firsthand. Because who doesn't love cool hearse cars, for Pete's sake? Those things are badass. Yeah,
and he's got a whole bunch of them, and a lot of great muscle cars. Modern and what I call first gen, so 60s muscle cars, so, and tremendous host. So that was a lot of fun. So shortly after that was the PRI show, and our previous episode was recorded at the PRI show with Brian Wibbenmeyer and Mike Good of PRI. So that was fun. So you heard that story.
Yep, I did hear that story.
Yes, I was talking to our listener.
Yeah.
glad to hear you're listening too. We got two.
I'm listening too. Maybe not comprehending, but I'm listening.
Right. Me neither. And then we kind of went full steam into 2025. And this year already has been a lot. I think part of it is that, here in the U.S., well, I guess all around the world, the holidays fell on middle of the week Wednesdays. So to me, it wasn't like, we get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off or anything like that to get into that holiday spirit. It was like you go to work Monday, Tuesday, and then it's Christmas, and then you go back to work, and then it's the weekend.
Back to work Thursday, Friday.
And then it's Monday, Tuesday, and then you go back, it's New Year's Day, and then you go back. So it was really a strange kind of rhythm.
Yeah, it is strange, and everybody's in kind of a fog because of it, I think. It's hard to kind of get your traction for those 2 weeks.
But that doesn't mean there's not a lot going on, and there's
you got that right.
Yes, projects in the shop, videos going out and being uploaded. We mentioned that 69 GTO Judge video, a couple others that we recently released, a preview on the 69 Ford Cobra 428 car we just started the restoration on.
Yep. My neighbor Robert is a big Ford guy. He's got a 66 Galaxy convertible, and I happened to see him for a few minutes today, and he was just gaga about that Torino. So he really enjoyed that video, and he was excited to see more of it. So that was good stuff. Yeah,
it's a cool car. And then a big project we released was the 1971 Oldsmobile Cutlass convertible restoration from start to finish.
That thing, holy cats. That car is nice.
That car's really nice. It's green with white interior, white top. And, in the world of doing the video and television stuff, coinciding with the build of a car. Many years ago, our good friend Jeff Smith, who's former editor of CarCraft and Hot Rod Magazine, he told me, if you're going to do a series or a build series of like an entire car, don't release any of it until the car's finished. Just because if something happens and the car doesn't get finished, then you won't have half a story out there in the world, with no ending to it. And usually, it's pretty rare that they don't get finished. A lot of times they take a long time, because we went through COVID and that slowed everything down and blah, blah, blah. So the Oldsmobile got finished, and then we went to work, curating and culminating all of the photographs and all the video that we shot on that car and kind of putting the story together of what happened, and sent it off to our editing outsource, my good friend Mr. Eric Anderson, who I used to work with at Hot Rod TV.
That's right.
And I just dumped this pile of footage on him, and I said, "Make this happen, buddy." And in typical style, he did a great job. He was able to pare it down, and then we, narrated the kind of the whole story that connects it all together. And we had some good footage of the car. But one of the things that I enjoyed most about that story is sharing the significance of what a car can be, even if, technically, from a collector standpoint, a 71 Cutlass Supreme convertible, this wasn't a 442. It wasn't like a 4-speed convertible with power windows and all the fancy stuff. It was a little bit more of a more popular mainstream 350 automatic car.
Sure.
But it's super significant to the owner. And that's why he had us renew it. He's had it since 1973. And we knew that. We appreciate how valuable the car is based on the experiences that the owners had with this car, at that point for 50 years. And to be the ones called upon to make this new again so that, he basically gets a young, excited version of his best friend back to go out and conquer the world again, right? How cool is that?
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I never thought of it that way, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Mm-hmm. So I think that point comes across in that video. We've certainly got a lot of response. And when I say we get a lot of response, I mean, it's funny. People ask us, like, how do you pick the cars you work on? And where do these come from? And it's really a lot simpler than people realize, or many people realize anyway. If you watch our videos on YouTube or go to our socials or our v8speedshop.com website, you'll see a page that says contact us. And we really only ask a couple of questions like, who are you? What's your name and a contact number? But what's the car and what do you want it to be? Why is it significant? And, we ask that people type up a few words about the car, and they send it in by hitting the submit button. And internally, we get an alert saying, hey, this person just filled out the form on the website, and then we'll call them back and schedule a time to chat and learn about the car. And if it's the right fit, again, for the type of work that they want and the kind of car that it is, and our timing, we'll make arrangements to have it shipped in from anywhere in the world, and
literally
do the deal. So it's pretty cool. I love the fact that people will watch our stuff and connect with it and then take the time to fill that stuff out. And those turn into great, relationships. They turn into great friendships. They turn into great cars. So we're very fortunate that's how that happened. But if you're listening to this going, yeah, these guys talk about their shop and the cars, but I don't really know, what the deal is, you can go right now to V8 Speed Shop. Well, wait till the end of the show. But then you can go to V8 Speed Shop.
Wait till we reveal the answers to the trivia questions, please.
Right. V8speedshop.com, and you'll see the contact us thing and fill out the form. And we're happy to learn the story of whatever it is that you have in your garage, because we love this stuff. It's cool.
We do love this stuff. And while you're at v8speedshop.com, check out the photo galleries, and you can see a lot of the different cars that we build and what kind of things that we can do. And if that's something that you're looking to do, then we will probably be a good fit for you.
Well, and on that note, I'm going to add another element that's kind of new for 25.
Oh.
And that is, those who've listened and followed our work over the years know that most of what we do is 60s and 70s muscle cars. Mm-hmm. I think when I looked at the statistics recently, 1968, I think, is our number one year as far as the amount of cars per year that we've worked on.
Okay.
I think followed by 69 and then 7 and then 70 and then 66. So it really kind of hovers around there, which is great. We love those cars. It's an area of expertise. The earliest one was 1923.
Mm-hmm.
The latest one was 2024. And
really?
A little bit of, yeah. There's been some late model Camaros that we've done work on, high performance cars. There's been, some trucks. There's a 2021 Jeep Gladiator in there that we did a lift kit on and some lighting, And that one was primarily because the owner had some other vehicles that we worked on. And he's like, hey, can you help us out with this? And it turns out that some of the guys on the team are really big into trucks. So it's like, sure, why not?
Cool.
But we do a significant amount of fendered cars from the 40s, 30s, 40s, and
right.
Big American cars from the 50s. But there's areas that I kind of want to go into and get deeper in as an opportunity for growth for our team and our shop that, I'm certainly not saying we've pushed the muscle car envelope to the limit, because the limit's never been determined. But we've built some of the best, pro touring cars and Resto mods that have, today's drive lines and vintage envelopes and, all that technology.
Right.
But what I really also really love are 50s customs and 30s and 40s hot rods. So we have a few concepts that our friend Murray Comant has rendered out for us and brought some visions to life that he and I discussed that now exist on a web page on our site. It's v8speedsshop.com/concepts.
Ooh.
And these are cars that, this is a sketchbook. I mean, these are ideas, and these are things that, if somebody clicks on it and says, ooh, yeah, that's kind of neat, I want one of those, we're happy to build those cars. Because typically, as I alluded to before, people bring us cars, and then we'll kind of color them or flavor them with our insights and suggestions. We're not the ones who are like pushing our ideas on other people, but we have some pretty neat ideas. So the concepts page are like, oh, well, what would you guys build for fun? And again, this is a little different from the person who's had a particular car for half a century and they want that car made new again. This is for somebody who's like, no, I want something really cool, and I know you guys are in this stuff, so what do you think is cool? So it's a pretty neat section on the website, and there's a Roadster in there that I'm just over the moon over.
Yes, you are.
You saw the picture of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a 32, 33 Ford maybe, but the flavor, I just had this vision of driving the car first. Before I knew what it looked like in my mind, I could experience how this car drove, and I can hear it, and I can feel it. And I talked to Murray, and Murray's a wonderful designer and a great guy. And what I like about working with Murray is, if you've ever worked with a designer before, sometimes designers bring not only their talents, but they can bring their ego or their attitude with the design. The same way a client can, and a lot of designers are like, if you get out of my way, I'll design something cool. And the customer's like, no, do it this way. And the designer's like, that's going to suck, But Murray is wide open to ideas. And I also know that for Murray to do his best work, I need to kind of get out of his way too, but I'm going to bring him ideas and let him start to make them happen visually. So the two of us have no problem saying, hey, that's great, try that. Or, hey, what do you think about this? Awesome, let's see it. Or, you know what, I don't really like that. And it doesn't hurt his feelings and it doesn't hurt mine. You know, it's like, it's really all about the car design. So this particular Roadster, the concept behind it was vintage hot rod, but with a flair of a similar era vintage European sports car. And we're not like saying, yeah, put a Ferrari 12-cylinder in a 32 Ford. It's not that. But it's similar design aesthetics and language of the time period. So it's wire wheels with knockoffs. It's a thin tire. It's, you know, some engine turned panels. It's a very almost French swoopy styling to it, the way the top is chopped, and just the whole aero deco look of the car. But ideally it'd be powered by, you know, maybe a polished aluminum flathead with a supercharger on it of the era.
Oh,
yes. Just DNA, you know, is there, but with a modern execution on how it goes together. And I was telling Murray this on the phone, and like the next day he sent over a sketch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. You know, it was so cool.
How did you know?
And no, exactly. And that doesn't happen all the time. I mean, you got to be on the same wavelength, because I could have described this thing to him, and I wasn't trying to like tell him what to do. I was just sharing the elements that I was envisioning.
Yeah.
And he got it. He got it totally.
Yeah, he picked it up. Yeah, that's great.
And he knows what those are too, and he knows what looks good. So anyway, that's a great one. And there's another one that, as we've talked about before, you know, my all-time favorite custom is the Billy Gibbons owned Cadzilla, built by Hot Rods by Boyd. Started off as a 48 Cadillac sedanette. And the sedanette body style is sometimes called the torpedo back. It's just super cool, even in its original form. And of course they chopped like crazy, Larry Erickson design, and extended it and just did all this wonderful work. Well, I mean, I don't have a desire to copy that car, because you can't, you know, it needs to be the only one.
Yes.
But you know, if I had an opportunity to take a whack at one of those, what would I do? And I ended up talking to Murray about it, and he was right there with me. And in this case, we actually found the car and bought the car.
Oh boy.
It's a 1948 Oldsmobile. It's not the Cadillac, but it's the same family in an Olds. And you know, many people pointed out what's cool about the Oldsmobile is that it had, of the Oldsmobile, the Pontiac, the Buick, and the Cadillac, the Olds had the least amount of trim on it from the factory. It's the cleanest one of all of them.
Really?
So it's kind of a custom already. But we found a car, and it was for sale, and you know, we were kind of talking about, should we do this? You know, what are we going to do? And I talked to Murray, and Murray came up with a really awesome rendering of what this car would look like, chopped and lowered with some custom touches on it. And here we go. We have a version of this really cool 50s custom. It's not as aggressive or deco swoopy or hand built as Cadzilla is, but it's killer. I mean, it's nice. Super slick. Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the difference is the driveline on that one would be far more modern than what Cadzilla is. Cadzilla is really just kind of a rectangular tube frame with a Cadillac 500 engine that was from the 70s. And in this case, I don't know, maybe we put a modern, 2024 Camaro subframe under it and have a short, long arm suspension with struts and, giant brakes, or, a better Willwood of some sort or whatever. But it's going to have some of the deco elements of the interior. But that particular car would have to perform and drive like a new, modern, high-end sedan.
Yes.
but then have the look of super slick. So the interesting thing about that car is I'm not in a position to build that whole thing today, but perhaps we start showing a few steps of it, the rendering, whatever, and somebody watches what we do and says, hey, I would love to own that car, and we build it for them, you know? But it just was happenstance that that particular style of car has been on my mind for 35 years or whatever it is. And while we were discussing like stretching our legs and spreading our wings a little bit to go beyond the muscle cars and the things that we've done, and discussing what would we do, and I mentioned that sedanette style is something I'd like to do. Boom, one became available. That's a very clean car, and it was affordable, and we just thought, hey, let's do it. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, we were throwing the idea because it was found literally across the country is where that car was. And as soon as you said that you had gotten it, I said, well, we got to road trip that thing back.
Yeah, I know.
and you were on board, and we were trying to figure out how we could do this. And we spent some time trying to work the logistics out, but alas, at the end, our better senses got the better of us, and we decided, well, it's probably better that we just transport it. And as soon as you got it back and you drove it for the first time, you said, yeah, I'm glad we didn't drive this back from across the country.
Well, yeah, because it's the original straight 8 Oldsmobile flathead straight 8, flathead 8-cylinder. And 1948 was the very first year for the hydromatic automatic transmission. And it's a 4-speed automatic, but not an overdrive.
Right.
And it is a good driving car, if you're just going to tool around town. I don't know that it would be up for the rigors of driving from Seattle to St. Louis, basically, because that's where it was.
Yeah.
And the owner...
driving through the mountains and stuff. Holy cow.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. And the seller had a repair shop in Seattle, and he was a car guy. And it was interesting because we found this exact car that we ended up buying, we found a forum thread that went back almost a decade of him having this car on the Ham, if you're familiar with the hokey-ass message board. And he talks about the different modifications he did over the years, and he fixed the hydromatic and all this stuff. So I said, hey, man, we're thinking about driving this thing back. What do you think? And he's like, it's a 75-year-old car, dude.
That's not a no.
That's how I heard it.
Right. Well, he didn't say we shouldn't.
No, but then we got it back, and when it arrived, I was pleasantly surprised to see that he kind of undersold the condition. It was nicer than I expected, but yeah, driving it, I'm like, yeah, this thing really wants to be sitting in an easy chair right now and not be on an interstate in Wyoming or something. So, so that concept rendering is on our concepts page, and if you happen to click on it and say, hey, I like what you're doing with this car, I mean, it's available. We just want to see it built, and there are times when you have these conversations like, oh, it'd be great to build one of those, We can't build anything if you don't have the car. So this was a way to at least get the car.
Yeah,
so that,
now we have the car.
We can make it happen. And there's a few more on that page also that I'm not going to go into right now. You have to check them out. But that's all cool stuff.
It is very cool stuff. The Black Label concept.
Well, yeah, and a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with some people that are a lot smarter than me. Well, I was having that today, too. I mean, it just that
I have that
happens
every
a lot.
day, sir. Yeah. Every time I talk to my wife, I'm talking to someone who's way smarter than me.
Oh, me too. You know it. But this particular gentleman was in marketing, high-level stuff. And he was a guy who marketed brands that you and I both know and love, and same with every one of our listener. And we're kind of kicking around the idea of like, okay, so how do we go from being known as this great, cool muscle car shop into this higher end, how do we kick everything up notches and reach these markets and communicate with these people that are looking for something beyond what it is that we do every day? And he said, well, basically what you're talking about is like a black label program. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he used Hot Wheels as an example. And he's like, Hot Wheels went from the 99-cent car to the 1999 black label version that's exclusive and unique, and you not everybody can have one, and they're released with an experience that's more than just take it off the hook at Walmart. It's part of an exclusive newsletter, and there's swag around it and all this stuff. And in fact, he knew of this because that's what he did. He was the guy at Mattel that created that program. I said he was smart. And so I was like, interesting. So we really took a deep dive and said, well, what is it that we do that we could kind of create our own black label experience, right? And the customer experience is important. We always want people to feel like, we're being easy to communicate with, that they're up to speed, they know what's going on, that we understand what they want, and that we're capable of bringing that to life. But in the world of the black label side, there might be additional customer experiences. And in fact, the McCacken show, bringing all those owners to that event and taking them to the other events that went with it and being really on the team all weekend is a perfect example of what I'm calling a black label experience. These are more than just, hey, yeah, these guys built my car and then I picked it up and took it home.
Right.
It's really sharing this culture that we all love, together and doing cool stuff. And that's where these cars are lending themselves to. And it doesn't mean that other cars don't have that experience, but it's a little different if somebody comes in and they want a fuel injection conversion. Your relationship is a little different than let's create some custom that's never been seen before. We're all still in this culture together. We love it. But for the ones that are, really getting deep into this, there's a lot more time to interact and to share cool stuff and have those opportunities to connect. So we just want to figure out the best way to where we can all enjoy this process more and more, right? So that's kind of what Black Label's all about.
Cool. I'm on board. Let's do it.
Right on. You want to buy an Oldsmobile? It's going to be bitching, I'm telling you.
It's going to be great, man. You got to do it. Yeah, who needs to retire?
Retire? Come on.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Retire the car when you wear the first set out.
Yeah, exactly. When I wear the meats off of it, I got to retire it.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, lots of fun stuff. So, and
cool, man. Cool deal.
This time of year as we record this is also it's auction season, right? It's Meekup season, Barrett-Jackson season for some of their big ones, the Scottsdale and the Kissimmee, Florida, and that's always fun. Not just to watch or to go to, but there have been many times when people have purchased cars at auctions and they get them home and they drive them and they're like, yeah, this isn't exactly what I was expecting, right? So
it sure did look cool.
Well, and sometimes it's not necessarily that they got a car that needs some help. It might be the whole car model, like that particular, and I'll give you an example. So a few years ago, a lady came to us who said, my dad was big into 57 Thunderbirds, and he owned them his whole life, and he passed away. And now I'm in a position I want to honor him by getting a 57 Thunderbird. And she went to an auction, and she bought a 57 Thunderbird. And then she got behind the wheel and said, this thing sucks. She's like, I don't like it. And she was used to driving, she had a current Porsche, and that's a long way from a 57 Thunderbird.
Yeah.
The steering wheel was too big and it didn't tilt, and it had a Y block with a misfire, and it it wasn't the brakes, drum brakes, and it just wasn't. It looked great.
Yeah. It was 1957 is what it was.
Right. Yeah. So that's the black car that we put on a custom chassis and put a Coyote engine in and did much better brakes and suspension and all the rest and gave it back to her. And now she drives that thing every chance she gets. And it has the look that she wanted, and now it has the driving experience that she wanted. And it came from her buying it at an auction without the experience of test driving it, essentially, because that's what you do, at an auction. You can't really drive them.
No, you're right. You can't.
So we extend that invitation to people who purchase something at an auction, and if it isn't exactly what you expected, or maybe it's like, hey, I bought this, I don't know, 67 GTO at this auction, and it's got everything I want, but I really wish it had air conditioning, or
right.
It's the wrong color, but everything else is cool.
I got this Firebird Esprit. I would really like it to be turned into a Trans Am.
Well, in that case, I would say sell it and buy a Trans Am. But if it's something where you want fuel injection or something else, right, we're happy to personalize those cars and at the very least look over them, because when you buy a vintage vehicle, it's always a good idea to have it safety inspected and checked out.
Yeah, and we do quite a bit of that. Not everything that goes through our shop is a full ground up restoration. We do a lot of those. I want a 5-speed. I want air conditioning in this car. I want better suspension. I want better brakes. It's not tearing the whole car apart and starting over. It's just improving what you have, and we're really good at that.
Here we are talking about this black label concept of really pushing the envelope, but in no way are we abandoning those other services or mid-level upgrades. And it's because I know that there's a need for all of it. And I love being able to deliver, hopefully what anybody wants at any level. We want to be the ones to help you look after the car, and make it what you want. So it's funny you mentioned the Firebird Esprit.
We had one of those.
Well, we had a Skybird.
Skybird, that's what it was. Yeah.
Right, a light blue Skybird.
Yeah, powder blue. 70, Skybird. Yeah.
78, right? 7.
I think so. It's either 77 or 78.
It was 78. Just the other night, my lovely wife is out of town, and she's visiting her cousin on the other side of the country, which means I can, watch Chips reruns on antenna TV. Yes! And not that she's got anything against Chips, but some of these silly, old shows I watch for nostalgia reasons, but I'm always looking at the background. And here goes Ponce and John winging past a Skybird in this episode of Chips. Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, that thing doesn't get out of its own way.
It's funny, I watched a clip of that where a 71 Camaro chasing down like a 70 Mustang on the California Expressway.
That'd be the 215.
Like, you gotta be kidding me. What's that?
The 215 freeway was under construction when they were shooting Chips, so they used that stretch of highway before it was open. And that's how they were able to shoot a lot of that stuff, because there's no way you're shutting down, SoCal freeways and highways for a TV show at that point, especially one with a lower budget like Chips had.
Sure.
So,
what's funny is I'm watching it, and you hear all about how bad the traffic is in California, and I'm watching this. I'm like, traffic seems great. There's hardly anyone on the road, for crying out loud. Yeah. It's amazing.
I'd be remiss if we didn't touch on a couple things that are actually, really, really, really crappy. We were talking about auctions, and one of them is that our good friend Mr. John Cramen passed.
Oh,
and Cramen did announcing for Mecum for years. I did a few interviews with him. There's videos online that you'll find. Just a great, great guy. And it's just a bummer, It really is. I've seen him a few times at the McCacken show.
I talked to him a couple of times, and he seems like just the genuine article, just a super, super cool, nice guy.
Yeah.
And he's, taken from us way too soon. So,
and it's interesting because, it's going to happen to all of us. I get that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when somebody's like, yeah, my 148-year-old Aunt Verna passed away, it's unfortunate. I can't relate, because I never really knew Aunt Verna, and whatever. But Kramen was one of those guys. We all knew him,
Yeah.
A lot of people had experience with him. We watched his stuff and liked him. And it might seem a little selfish in some respects, but I'm going to miss that dude. I'm going to miss tuning into that because I really enjoyed what he had to offer, There was another person who passed, heck, I don't know, at least 10 years ago now, but it was Gary Moore, the blues guitar player. And it hit me really hard because I'm like, no. We need more of this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not done listening to Gary Moore stuff. You can't take him away. It was really depressing. And that's kind of how I feel about Kramen. So that was a bummer.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. So
our condolences to all the car fanatics around the world, plus Meekum and his family. And then the other bummer was, we're talking about Southern California, and as we're recording this, it's all burning right now, and that really
my
sucks.
Gosh, yes,
it's horrible.
It is horrible.
I don't mean to put a big downer kibosh on the show, but 25 has been a strange year in many ways, and I think that those Southern California fires. I mean, I lived out there for many years, and I know exactly where all that was. I know people who've lost everything out there, and it's the fires, you can't really just. They're going to do what they're going to do, and it's evil, and it blows, and I feel horrible for these people that lost their house, and of course people who've passed in the fires. It's a tragedy. Yeah. Our hearts go out to them. I can't really say too much more. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, and I know there's going to be, humans are resilient, and social media has brought out really the worst in a lot of people, comparing tragedies from around the country.
Right.
I feel horrible for all the people that have suffered those giant losses. And all I can do is personally try to, I'm not saying I'm seeing the positive in that because I don't really think there is much, but I'm trying to appreciate my situation and those around me that I care about, and our friends and family and customers. And I can still get in my 62 Ford and drive it down the street right now, and there are people in Southern Cal or, North Carolina or, anywhere some of these tragedies have happened that can't do that anymore. And so I'm doing that for you, all right? I'm please, I'm sharing my energy outward for those who can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's a rough deal lately. You touched on it, North Carolina, all the weather that they've been having. There's just the snow that they've been getting that they don't normally get, and it's just paralyzing the whole region. And people can't get anywhere, and they their homes are being damaged, and it's just been a real nightmare for those people. And my heart really goes out for them as well.
For sure. But then I think the one thing in this audience that ties us all together is the passion for cool cars and having the good times with them. So
for sure,
as long as it's our duty to enjoy these cars and to get them out on the road and share them with people who, may or may not have one anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that sounds strange, but that's just kind of where my head's at. So, we hope the best for everyone, and I won't squander my opportunities to exercise a fun car or build one for somebody or whatever just because something happened. So I don't know if that even makes any sense.
You got to keep living. You just got to keep moving on, and keep. You can't let it. Bad things happen to people, but you can't let it stop you.
I acknowledge it and
acknowledge it. Send your energy out to them. Your healing vibes and all that, and help however you can. If there's something that you can do, then it should be done. So
yes. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But
yes, sir.
This past this past weekend, you were able to come down to our annual holiday party, which happened a little bit later in the in the season. But we had a casino night. That was fun.
Yeah, we did. And good old cue ball Michael roll them bones cue ball Clarke was rolling some throwing some craps
without the S.
Without the S.
Yeah. That was fun. We had the majority of the team and their families came out. You know, people always have, you know, obligations. And that's another thing as I look around today, you know, we've got 32 people on staff.
Something like that. It's a good number of people.
It's a huge number of people considering that I never would have envisioned any of this, you know.
No.
And we're so unbelievably fortunate to have such a quality group of people that come together every day to make all this happen. And there are some that are working from afar. So I mentioned our friend Eric, the video editor. He's in a beach house in Mexico for crying out loud. That's where he lives. And then we've just added the services of another great longtime friend of ours in Australia, Mr. Ziggy Sadler.
Hey, Ziggy!
Joined the team, bringing his vast experiences as a shop owner and a custom car builder and a custom car visionary, really, and a designer and a painter and an engine builder, and he's looking to expand his horizons, and he's going to be working from there to help us grow our customer base around the world and assist people in different countries and bring his expertise here. So he's coming to the States in a few weeks, and we'll be staying here for a while. Ideally, he moves here from Australia. We'll see how we get all that to work. So there's another great opportunity to work with somebody who can really bring it. So we're happy to welcome Ziggy. And again, I never would have envisioned it, and here we are. So it was really cool to share the time at our little casino night and present our annual awards to our standout team members, which was very cool.
It was very cool.
I'm actually going to put those awards on our Facebook page because they all have different stories and share them that way. So we invite people to check that out. And we thank everyone for bringing it every year and bringing it every day. And Ziggy, you don't know what you're in for.
No take-backs, Ziggy. You're on board now.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've been through it, so.
Yeah. Yep. And I would not take it back. So there you go.
No. Well, they can't have you back, whoever that is.
No,
so
no, and they're not. I won't. No, I'm here. For better or worse, buddy, we're married now.
Yeah, for sure. We've been for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, that kind of brings us up to today. It's the middle of January as we record this, and I've been very busy with the SEMA Hot Rod Industry Alliance as their chairman of the communication task force, which is cool. So I do a lot of their social posts, and I've been doing outreach to a lot of different HRA member companies to find out what they're up against, what's new, how other people can benefit from, you know, sharing that experience. And of course, Kelly she's you know, in high gear working with the SEMA board of directors and putting a lot of energy in that direction. That's the only gear
she has, man.
Yeah, I know.
High gear all the way.
That's it.
Overdrive. Let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And that's how a lot of things get done.
True. Very true.
And I think, you know, there's the balance because I'm not always in overdrive. I might be tacking up in second and third and, you know, coming up on the cam here and there, and then I can clutch it back down.
Can't be throwing nothing but gas. I got to think in terms of a career here, for crying out loud.
You know, she'll go winging by in the left lane and high in overdrive, you know.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yep.
It's all in the right direction. It's in the right vein. The intention is to provide, a great opportunity for our team and their families and our customers, and then the culture in the industry, kind of in that order. That's why we're here. So it takes everything you got, but it's been 20 years. We're still doing it. So very fortunate.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, to be honest with you. That's great stuff. So, Lord knows, I just see a glimpse of what you guys go through when I come down for the month. And you guys are you're at it, always at it. You're on your laptops. You're making sure things are working right and fixing what's not and making things better. I mean, it's constant with you guys. So it's pretty damn impressive, to be honest with you. How you're able to do that. So I know it's a labor of love, and I mean, you really don't have a choice, but you're still doing it. So
I mean, I appreciate that, and it's interesting because Kelly and I never had kids. So whereas like most everybody on our team, most people anyway, if you have a family, you come home from work and it's family time, and that's how it should be. In our case, we work together, we come home, we eat dinner, because we work in the same place and we work on the same business, the topics naturally just continue. We just continue to chat about what happened today or whatever. And then because we don't have to go to somebody's basketball game or take somebody to swimming class or whatever, we take the evening opportunity to continue. We call it second shift. We joke about it.
Oh, that's funny.
And yeah, but we're not taking away from the family, because this is our family.
That's true.
This is
for sure.
Kind of how we do it. And when you come to, Cue Ball works in the north office, if you will, and when you come down, you get to see that firsthand. And you were joking because we'll throw, and when it's cold out at night like this, in this time of year, the sun goes down. We'll throw something on TV while we're doing work on our laptops, and recently it's been, SWAT with Hondo.
Heck yeah, go Hondo!
None of us are really paying attention to the TV, but it's background noise as we clack away at our stuff. And then you're sitting there in the other chair like, these people are insane. and they don't ever stop. And I'm trying to watch Hondo, and all I hear is clickety-clack of the keyboards. But
that's hilarious.
It does take all you can give it. So, and I'm cool with that. It's a strange thing because we love doing this. Again, it's the culture. It's what we do. So if I worked in an industry that I was not passionate about, so say, for example, I was in plastic injection molding for a company that made, habit trail kits for gerbils or something, right? And it's really just a job. Yeah. I would not come home, have dinner, and go back to work on the plastic injection molding thing. I wouldn't have it in me. But when it comes to the opportunity to build cool cars for cool people and do fun stuff, yeah, I'm going to continue. And it's just how it is. I'd be doing it anyway,
Right, for sure.
And it's like when we brought you on staff, and you're like, "Oh, you mean I get to look up car parts for a living? I do that anyway."
Yeah, exactly. I do that for nothing, for crying out loud.
Right. Careful.
Yeah. How good is that?
Mm-hmm. So that's
I still got to pinch
thing.
myself sometimes. It's crazy. It's amazing.
And not to say you don't need a break from it every once in a while and all that, which I got to get better at. But that's one of the goals for 25 is to be able to break off and detach a little bit and maybe just go out and enjoy the car instead of contemplating how we can make some process more efficient or, whatever the next project is, or negotiate a better deal with a supplier, all those business things that you don't really think about.
Sure.
We do all that. Happy to do it.
Well, we're happy you're doing it, so thank you.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, you know what else people are happy about? Is the answer to our riveting trivia questions.
Amen. All right.
Let's put them through a lot on this episode. We got to pay them off at least with that.
Right. We owe it that much, for Pete's sake. All right, so I asked you, when did cars start having the steering wheel mounted on the left side?
Oh yeah.
And you didn't go into much on this one. You just said, "Yeah, I'm going to say 1906, just because."
Right.
And you're pretty damn close, I got to tell you.
Really?
Yeah. In 1910, due to the popularity of the Model T. So the Model T came out in 1908 and was the steering wheel was on the left side. Up until then, most automakers had it on the right side. And Henry Ford theorized that the visibility was better when entering and exiting a roadway with the wheel on the left. And because that was so popular, other automakers followed suit. So technically 1910 is when they got on board with that. In the grand scheme of things, man, I got to give it to you. I mean, you were right there.
Well, thank you for that. I'm impressed. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you were like 19. Oh, I'm like, oh, shoot. He's going to nail this.
Well, so I was actually thinking earlier first, but then I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I've seen like 1910 vehicles with both sides, and I just threw the dart. So right on.
Huh. You were on the outer ring of the bullseye with that dart, so
been there my whole
well played.
Life. Living on the outer ring.
Outer ring of all the greatness.
Sometimes it's wax. The outer ring of greatness.
Right.
That'll be the title of my third album, by the way. Outer ring
The title of my third album. The Outer Edge of Greatness.
Oh, man.
Oh, God dang it.
Okay, well, in my case, I asked you, when was the first appearance of the 6-speed manual transmission? And I happen to throw the word global in there just because. And you responded with 1957, and you added a bonus that you said it was a German vehicle, and in fact, a double bonus, so you think it was Mercedes-Benz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
Not terribly far off. The correct answer was actually 1967.
Oh,
and
my.
it was an Alfa Romeo, believe it or not.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, and I think the first 7-speed didn't happen until 2007 or something. I think it was a Porsche with the 7-speed. Maybe a little later than that, 2012. But anyway, 1967 Alfa Romeo was the first 6-speed manual, which was way earlier than I thought. So I'm impressed that you went into the 50s on that.
I figured it had to be fairly early. I mean, you would think that it was a later thing, but with a lot of automotive things, what you think is a modern innovation typically happened way earlier, but just probably not as good.
Yeah, oftentimes isn't. Because I know,
right.
Do you remember your first experience with 6-speed manual?
No, because I've
Haven't had
never
it yet?
driven a 6-speed manual.
Yeah, there you go, see.
Yep.
Mine was in a 1995 Chevrolet Camaro 1LE SS. So the showroom stock version, which was a center bolt LT1, not an LT1, but a center bolt 350. I don't know if it was an L98 or whatever the heck it was.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the 6-speed. And a friend of mine had that car. In fact, still has it. He bought it new and has it today. Black,
Wow.
tan cloth, no air, AM, FM radio, no cassette. 6-speed manual, giant white Hurst shift ball on a short throw shifter. It was like disproportionate. Giant ball, short shaft. And boy, did that car handle.
Giant ball, short shaft.
Was that your high school nickname too?
Yeah, that was my nickname too. Oh my God.
Giant white ball.
Giant white ball, short shaft. There's Clarke. Gosh darn it.
Sorry to dredge up high school, but
Yeah, high school trauma. Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Well, but the car was more fun to drive, so.
I'm sure it was.
But yes, that was my first 6-speed experience. Well, this was a fun episode, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fun to get back in the saddle.
Right. We can't let it go as long as we did this time, but for those who tuned in and stuck with us the whole time, we appreciate it and invite you to subscribe or like if that option exists wherever you're listening. And Spotify still has their comment thing. You can add comments on Spotify or the Facebook page. This podcast is also carried on a YouTube feed. You can leave comments there whenever you want. Or again, check out the website at v8speedshop.com or v8radio.com. Man, all these things.
All of these avenues.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's nuts. So that's about all I got. You got anything final parting words for our lovely guest?
Oh, boy. Big ball, short shaft. There you go.
Well, this has been the VA Radio Podcast. I'm Kevin Oeste. That's Mr. Big Ball Short Shaft over there. And we're reminding you to keep it under 100. And we will talk to you next time on VA Radio.